Tucker Carlson, who's probably the biggest voice in conservative media in America, has hit the headlines once more. That's because he hosted a Darryl Cooper, a historian, on his podcast who questioned the mythos of World War II. On the podcast, Darryl Cooper apparently stated that Winston Churchill was the villain of the Second World War, and some of the liberal media have been stating he's been engaging in pro-Nazi propaganda. Now, I should go without saying, but we're in Starmer's Britain now, so I have to say I'm not a National Socialist. I don't agree with the persecution of any group. I'm a Christian and believe every single person has innate divine value. But that I have to say this actually gets to the core point of this video. The modern world seems to assume that anybody who isn't completely on board with the left-wing liberal shibboleths of the age is some secret Nazi. I mean, very often you'll hear that online. For instance, if you believe in traditional gender roles and don't want to see Europeans become a minority in their own continent, it won't be long before somebody calls you far right these days. And this speaks to the moral universe of the liberal world. You're either on board with liberalism or you're a Nazi. They do this, of course, to control the political narrative, but in reality, you can be anti-Nazi and question the mythos that's developed around World War II. So what this is really about isn't reframing the past, but understanding that we may have picked the wrong future.
So Germany is because totally self-hating place. It's a husk.
Yeah.
It's depressing as hell, though also wonderful in a way, but it's going away. But they lost. At least you could say they lost 2 world wars in a row.
Yeah.
Britain won 2 world wars in a row. And if anything, it's more degraded than Germany. So just to take it back to the first thing I said, and I'll shut up and let you answer, but if Churchill is a hero, how come there are British girls begging for drugs on the street of London? And the place is, it's just London is not majority English now. What?
Well, the people who formulated the version of history that considers Churchill a hero, they like London the way it is now, But
that's not victory. That's like the worst kind of defeat, is it not? I'm just confused.
If you're an English person who cares about England, then yeah, absolutely it is.
Now again, I have to be really clear on this. It's not saying that the Nazis were right. The point at hand here is the mythos around Churchill is being used by globalist figures to make him out as some proto-woke politician, someone who was pro-mass immigration and pride marches. And it does beg the question, all those men who went to war to fight, many of whom died, would they want to see British people a minority 100 years later in their own lands? Personally, I don't think they would. But it's kind of ironic, isn't it? If you mention in the liberal mainstream British people becoming a minority in Britain, someone eventually will call you a Nazi. So you'll be called a Nazi for having the same point of view as the people who fought the Nazis. And again, not wanting to be a minority in your own country isn't about hating anybody. I don't blame the immigrants who've come here looking for a better life. I blame the politicians who facilitated it and called us all evil if we ever dared object to it. But that topics such as this are being mainstreamed by figures like Tucker Carlson tells us something quite important I speak a lot about on this channel, and that's that we're witnessing the death of liberalism. The liberal worldview is falling apart and people are reconsidering and restructuring our understanding of the past, the present and our future. Now, through these changes, I'd imagine the Guardianistas will yell far right at lots of people, but they do that all the time anyway. However, I do believe that phrase is losing a lot of its power via overuse and basically it being a scam most of the time. And as I've said before, we're entering quite chaotic times, but in that chaos is opportunity to refine who we fundamentally are, to discover the truth of our culture and move forward in a new, healthier and positive vision. These are just my views, however. Do let me know what you think down below. Do consider subscribing to the channel.